Hey everyone, today, we are going to talk about a man who became a famous killer clown. In 1972, his name was John Wayne Gacy, but he was known as Pogo the Clown.
Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant.
John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago on March 17, 1942, the second child and only son of John Stanley Gacy and Marion Elaine Robison. His father was an auto repair machinist in World War I, and his mother was a homemaker. Gacy was close to his mother and to sisters, but endured a difficult relationship with his father, who was an alcoholic and was physically abusive to his family. One of Gacy's earliest memories was of his father beating him with a leather belt for accidentally disarranging components of a car engine he had assembled. In 1949, Gacy's father received word that his son and another boy had been caught sexually fondling a young girl. His father punished him with violence. Gacy was an overweight and unathletic child. Because of a heart condition, he was told to avoid all sports at school. During the 4th grade, he began to experience blackouts. He was hospitalized on occasion because of these episodes. Gacy enrolled at Northwestern Business College. Despite having failed to graduate from high school, he graduated in 1963 and took a management trainee position in a shoe company. The company transferred him to Springfield to work as a salesman and eventually promoted him to manager of his department. In March of that year, he became engaged to Marlon Myers, a co-worker. After a 6-month relationship, Gacy and Myers married in September 1964. Marlon's father subsequently purchased 3 KFCs in Waterloo. The couple moved there so Gacy could manage the restaurants, with the understanding that they would move into Marlon's parents' former home. The offer was lucrative. Gacy would receive $15,000 per year, plus a share of the restaurant's profits. Following the obligatory completion of a management course, Gacy relocated to Waterloo with his wife. He opened a club in his basement where his employees could drink alcohol and play pool. Although Gacy employed teenagers at his restaurants, he socialized only with the young men. Gacy gave many of them alcohol before he made sexual advances, but if they rebuffed him, he would claim his advances were simply jokes or a test of morals. Gacy's wife gave birth to a son in February 1966 and a daughter in March 1967. He had finally earned his father's approval when Gacy's parents paid a family visit in July 1966. His father privately apologized for the physical and emotional abuse he had inflicted throughout his son's childhood and adolescence. In August 1967, Gacy sexually assaulted a 15-year-old teenager, Donald Voorhees, who was a son of a fellow JC. He lured him to his house upon the promise of showing him sexual films regularly played at JC events. During that night, Gacy plied Voorhees with alcohol. Over the following months, Gacy similarly abused several other youths. He tricked teenagers into believing he was commissioned to conduct homosexual experiments in the interests of scientific research, and paid them up to $50 each. In March 1968, Voorhees reported to his father that Gacy had sexually assaulted him. So he immediately informed the police, who arrested Gacy and charged him for performing sex on his teenager, but also for the attempted assault of another teen named Edward Lynch. Gacy denied the charges and demanded to take a polygraph test. The results indicated Gacy was nervous when he denied any wrongdoing in relation to both young men. John persuaded one of his employees named Russell Schroed, who was only 18 years old, to physically assault Voorhees in an attempt to discourage the boy from testifying against him in court. Gacy promised to pay Schroeder $300 and agreed, and in early September lured Voorhees to a secluded country park, sprayed mace in his eyes, then beat him. Voorhees escaped and reported the assault to police, identifying Schroeder as his attacker. They arrested him the following day, while initially denying any involvement. Schroeder soon confessed to assaulting Voorhees, indicating he had done so at Gacy's request. Police arrested Gacy and laid an additional charge of hiring Schroeder to assault and intimidate Voorhees against him. Gacy was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. 2 doctors examined him over a period of 17 days before concluding he had an antisocial personality disorder and was unlikely to benefit from any therapy or medical treatment. His behavior pattern was likely to bring him into repeated conflict with society. The doctors concluded he was mentally competent to stand trial. On November 7, 1968, Gacy pleaded guilty to 1 count of having a forced relationship to Voorhees, but was not guilty to the charges related to other use. Gacy was convicted on December 3 and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. That same day, his wife petitioned for divorce, requesting she be awarded the couple's home and property, sole custody of their 2 children, and alimony. The court ruled in her favor, and the divorce was finalized on September 18, 1969. He never saw his first wife or children again. Gacy was granted parole with 12 months of probation on June 18, 1970, after having served 18 months of his 10-year sentence. He arrived in Chicago, there by bus on June 19, and shortly thereafter obtained a job as a short-order cook in a restaurant. With financial assistance from his mother, he bought a ranch house in a small village. He lived there until his arrest in December 1978, and according to Gacy, that's where he committed all his murders. Gacy became engaged to Carol Hoff, whom he had briefly dated in high school. They were married on July 1, 1972. Carol and her 2 young daughters from a previous marriage moved into Gacy's home after the couple announced their engagement. Through his membership in a local moose club, he became aware of a Jolly Joker clown club, whose members regularly performed at fundraising events and parades, in addition to voluntarily entertaining hospitalized children. In late 1975, Gacy joined the clown club and created his own clown characters, Pogo the Clown and Patches the Clown, devising his own makeup and costumes. He described Pogo as a happy clown, whereas Patches was a more serious character. He performed numerous local parties, charitable events, and children's hospitals. In 1973, Gacy and a teenage employee traveled to Florida to view a property Gacy had purchased. On the first night in Florida, Gacy raped the employee in their hotel room. He commits his first murder on January 1, 1972, and begins to recruit his main victims from his entourage by offering odd jobs to young people in his neighborhood. Most of his victims are also part of his employees. On December 21, 1978, the Chicago police arrested Gacy in his car and took him home to investigate the disappearance of young men who had worked for him. Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys, and buried 26 of them in the crawl space of his house. The neighbors complained of odors coming from the basement's home, which he had tried to alleviate with lime, and claiming to have clogged sewer problems, and then he covered them with concrete. Gacy was brought to trial on February 6, 1980, charged with 33 murders. He attempted to convince the doctors that he had multiple personality disorder. He was sentenced to capital punishment, He was executed on May 10, 1994, at the Stateville Correctional Center near Joliet in Illinois. Unfortunately, this video is over for today. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. See you soon.